Good evening, everyone. I'd just like to welcome all of you who are listening out there to a very special evening that we've just shared with Elaine Robinson, who is taking an art installation around the country, has been for the last 2 years, called Turning Ages. And we'd like to ask her a few questions and see if she can share with us what moved her to create these 7 pieces, which have been touring in libraries throughout the UK, and also maybe if she can tell us a bit more about what kind of feedback she's had from people who have seen them throughout the country. Elaine.
Okay, well, this Turning Ages, which has been touring for 2 years, is the first of 7 installations, which is the first one has been very successful. The second one, Spot Time, I launched last year in Bristol and plan to do 6 more visits around other cities with fingerprints, taking it right back, and it will be in an analysis on our relationship with DNA and forensics. And the very thing that I suppose levels us all are fingerprints, really. And so I wanted to do 7 colours because it makes up the spectrum, which in turn is light and truth. And in the centre there will be the continuum, everlasting. And each of the, I suppose, pieces will be set in rosin, again depicting the idea of capturing time.
So 7 is a very special number for you. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, 7 is often perceived and understood to be a spiritual number. It's that 7 is the seeker of truth and light. And I didn't plan to have 7 installations. It just, again, I realised last night whilst I was preparing for this talk that I'd been running earlier with a friend, and she asked me, "You must have quite a few now," and I listed them all, and there were 7. And then I realised how magical that was, and then I knew that collectively they needed to be called something. And the first thing that came to mind was Grail, and I knew that was a little bit obvious, really. So I played around and came up with LIGAR, L-I-G-A-R, and by doing that I put it into the Google search engine and realised you see, it does have its yes. I realised that it meant pulling together, tying up, connection, and it universally is pretty similar throughout the world, really, the meaning.
So the number 7 really came to you in arrears rather than
yes.
I find that's very interesting.
I've found that with everything I've trusted so far, it's all become clear afterward. I just act out. I just literally do what I feel. I'm very lucky. Yeah.
And then at the end of it, you can see that it's path.
Yes. And it's a wonderful path. And I'm just really enjoying every part of it, actually, now. Yeah.
Could you tell us a bit more about what manifest art is? Because I certainly don't know too much about that, and I'm sure people watching might not.
Well, no, I don't suppose they will, really, because it started, I suppose, a year or 2 years ago. There were 2 friends and I were sat round. One had been in the industry as a composer for 25 years or more, and the other one is an emerging dance practitioner in Bristol, very successful. And we were sat round talking about the purity of art and the importance of art being for art's sake, and that how difficult it is to express because of the emphasis with funding now. And also exhibiting is always a big problem, because if you approach any exhibiting spaces, it's becoming to do with money and also planning. And I approached most of the large institutions about Spot Time, and I've been told that I have to go through bureaucratic channels, but I haven't got time for that, I'm afraid. I have to just do what I need to do. and make the art.
Immediacy is there.
Yes, very
You
important.
have to connect with that immediately.
Yes, because otherwise I become a designer, not an
Mhm.
artist.
Right.
And I'm not a designer, I'm an artist. And I have a responsibility to live a truthful and honest life with the art, and that becomes part of the way I intertwine with my children and my husband and my friends, and giving. And giving is a big part of Manifest Artist.
And are there a large number of artists that consider that they're part of this movement?
Well, more
Do you have a manifesto?
No, well, our manifesto is just simply pure creativity and art for art's sake. And we are not going to write anything down.
So keep it as pure as possible.
Yeah, we're not going to have a secretary. Where I'm just going to be, and what we're starting to find is we need a more updated website. I know that much, because at the moment it's very out of date. We're finding that cellists, musicians, Juliet McCarthy's a cellist, you know, lots and lots of different people that are involved in the creative arts that just want a platform. They don't necessarily call themselves artists, they want a platform to say, we believe in the manifestation of creativity for art's sake. And even if they're part of that, but not actually at the forefront. So we don't work together necessarily. It's just that we have the same beliefs.
But you resonate together.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Yeah, that's wonderfully put.
Well, also there is another question. This is the last of the stops, as I gather, for Turning Ages. So you've travelled around the country. You've met lots of people. What have you taken from that experience of meeting people and having them confronting your work?
It's been overwhelming. It's been very emotional. I've been very fortunate and been honoured enough to be asked to speak a lot during the tour. And I've been surprised by the attendees, only because I always wanted to find a way to express, and that's why I became a visual artist. But I found as well that I enjoy talking about the art and the process enormously. I've been given the opportunity to ask people to reflect a lot with art, because we have an energy now that's about instant gratification. And I'm trying, I can only speak for myself, not the other Manifest artists, but I'm trying to slow people down just slightly, to think about our connection to the earth, and to think about what art is, and our responsibility as humanity, that's it, and dignity and compassion, that we are living, and the way that we treat others is enormously important. And if we lose sight of all of that instant gratification, that hedonism, then you have to start questioning things like the soul. And
Questioning what exactly do you mean?
well, in terms of when I look at you, I see your eyes, and they're windows to the soul. People have said this for many, many generations, and you don't necessarily have any sense of that if you're looking at anything digital.
I see. Okay.
So we believe in. I don't when I paint pictures, and I'm asked to paint pictures, I don't do prints. I don't do it for art to make money. I do it because I have a feeling, and I want to honour it and paint just for the person. And there's only one.
Right. So it has to be tactile.
Yes.
It has to be visual.
Yes.
So you won't be very happy about the fact that people can put on these contact lenses and change the way their eyes look.
Well,
what about our post-human future?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it?
You're worried about that, isn't it?
You say that, but even if you had different coloured lenses on, you would have, I can sense the way you are, the sort of person that you are.
So then there's a connection which is beyond the visual.
Yes, it's the unseen.
Right.
And that's
so
what
the
I
visual
paint.
is a way of getting into it, but once you've
Yes.
made that visual connection, there is something which is beyond the visual.
Yeah, and my artwork celebrates the unseen.
Ah, okay, that's lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, but thank you for getting to that, because it's
really
difficult, you know. I
interesting.
celebrate
Yes.
the unseen. I celebrate instinct, connection, time.
Mhm.
I ask us to think about our concepts of time and our ideas of time.
Because really, a piece of art is so much more than what you can see or what
Yes.
is just there.
Yes.
Because I sensed that when I was looking at Turning Ages, I had that feeling. I said, yes, well, you see a lot of books, and it's much more than the sum total of its parts.
It's, well, one thing I was very aware of when I was collating it, and this was I was very aware of this, is that it's filled with sin. And the more educated, if you're fortunate enough to be educated in those, then the more you will see. But also, I wanted it to be something that anyone could connect with. And so children have absolutely loved it, because, oh, mummy, you know, they can see all sorts of things. I put things at the bottom for the children. And, you know, so it's as interesting to a 92-year-old, very dear lady friend of mine, as it is to a 5 or 6-year-old. So it connects, and it connects all time in the same way that spot time and fingerprints do it. It connects our lifespan and our regeneration. And you know, I mean, just more recently, David Bowie dying.
Yeah.
I found that so inspiring in many ways, because he's always been somebody I've admired enormously. But I could always see what he was doing. I could see he was regenerating. And I could see that he wasn't a pop star. I could see he was an artist. And I'm sure lots of people could.
Sure.
But that regeneration element was there, and the questions, and he was asking people, you know, to consider different things. And the duty of an artist is to take people to the edge and ask them to think about...
To the point where they can become seekers as well.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Thank you.
That's really lovely. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh no, thank you very much
And also for
indeed.
your art, because I really enjoyed it.
Oh no, thank you.
Really enjoyed it.
And
I'd like to see the others
discussion.
now.
I know, good, I'm pleased. Well, we're going to be 7, so
So,
yeah,
hopefully.
yeah, thank you.
When we have a library on the moon, then you can do one for there as well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
thank you very much, Lynn.
Okay.
Very good interview, by the way.
Yeah.
Very
Thank you.
good. Thank you very much.